Good evening and welcome to a programme at the end of which you'll be 30 minutes older and none the wiser. In the news this week, in response to budget cuts, London Transport announced they've already started scaling down their services. After complaints that British tennis players are a soft touch, the All England club think they found an opponent that no one would dare to beat. And after Luciano Pavarotti's car breaks down on the A5, a van driver makes the mistake of stopping to pick him up. On Ian Hislop's team, a woman who not long ago said in an article that her favourite word was mercurial, rather ironic for someone who advertised British Telecom for so long, Maureen Lipman. And with Paul Merton this week, someone who was recently appointed political editor of Cosmopolitan magazine. Many will have read her article on Labour transport policy and the multiple orgasm, Lesley Abdela. So time to let slip the dogs of war as we invite them all to identify 4 pieces of news footage. 2 per team, Ian and Maureen, a night in Baghdad for you.
Oh, that's Edward Heath, flying in to rescue poor old Saddam.
Why do you think they sent him? Is it because he was the only one not appearing before the Scott Committee?
Those are the hostages at the end. But I'm not sure they wouldn't have been out anyway if Sir Edward hadn't flown in. And a huge gust of hot air, generated largely by himself. Paul's been to Longleat.
It is the release of the prisoners in Iraq brought about by Sir Edward Heath. Only last Saturday, one of the captives, Paul Ryde, was stuck in a freezing, dilapidated ruin with the most basic facilities, surrounded by thugs and no-hopers. Oh, he should go and watch Chelsea as soon as he got back. In return for releasing the prisoners, the British government have agreed to send the Iraqis some medical supplies, which they say they need, and they've asked for a 200-foot metal syringe. Paul and Lesley, some rough trade for you.
What is this? Cameraman, French people. The Mickey Rooney story. They're making the Mickey Rooney story. He doesn't want to be in it. He's spotted Mickey Rooney. There's Mickey Rooney. I don't want to be in it, he says. I don't know, I haven't got a clue, mate.
It's all about GATT, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a case of Jurassic Park versus Jour les Gym. The Euro lovers got rather agitated because the American movie industry was going to get better treatment than it does now.
The French just got all stroppy because we all want to go and see American films rather than endless, dreary Trobel pour moi.
But it's television as well. I mean, I wonder what Golden Girls and Cheers would come out like in French or Italian.
Les Golden Girls.
You don't need subtitles with Merton here.
No. Wouldn't affect us because we don't make any films.
Oh, really? The British film industry, Ken Branagh?
Oh.
He makes a lot of films.
Yes, and they're all great. It is...
Not going to get you into one, Angus.
Determined to try. For years, French farmers have been setting fire to foreign sheep. Now it's the turn of French filmmakers to man the barricades. With any luck, they'll set fire to Macaulay Culkin. Ian and Maureen, something of a revelation for you.
Ah.
It's Edward Heath again.
He looks like him, yeah. That's the Bishop of Durham. That's a gargoyle.
That's the Bishop of Durham.
That's the Bishop of Durham, you're right.
Oh, that's the burning Macaulay Culkin. And there he is.
Yes. The Bishop of Durham came out this week. No, sorry, let me rephrase that. The Bishop of Durham said that there is no hell this week.
Yes, it's Bishop of Durham, dear old Dr. David Jenkins, who's sparked off a new row by claiming there's no such thing as hell. He said, I don't believe that people could be tormented day and night forever and ever. Obviously hasn't watched Sky Television. In 1984, he described the resurrection as a conjuring trick with bones. Almost immediately, York Minster was struck by lightning, and thousands of traditionalists claimed it was divine intervention, although some cynics have dared to suggest it could have been due to a trough of low pressure over the Pennines. Paul and Lesley, chip off the old block for you.
Oh, he's a very stern-looking individual. This is the Russian guy. Oh, look at that. That's what happens when people haven't got telly.
Jack Boots.
Jack Boots, all very nice. Lovely. And that same man dancing again.
And the same man is?
I've never heard of him. Don't know who he is, mister.
Is he the new...
I wasn't even in the pub at the time.
He's the new man who's suddenly stormed the Russian polls, and he's a very difficult man to pronounce. I think it's Gironsky or...
My Paul, he's pretty good at Russian names.
And he's a rather nasty man. He could be a future president of Russia, and he's actually a very scary man.
But he also says there's no... He said he's not anti-Semitic, and he said that the Jews just go on about anti-Semitism, and that's what causes it. So the next time a Cossack horse rides over one of us, we shouldn't complain.
He also apparently sent a contingent of soldiers to help your friend Saddam Hussein.
Yes, he's very keen on Iraq, isn't he? Yes, you know a man by his friends, don't you?
So are we agreed we don't like this person then? Paul, how do you feel about it?
I've never met the bloke. I wouldn't like to judge him before I meet him.
He's got a rotten kitchen, hasn't he?
He's got a rotten kitchen, yeah, definitely.
Yes, it is the
In Churchill, he had a lovely kitchen in Churchill. He had gold taps, mixers, all that. He had the lot, Churchill. He was a man you could respect. Because when he took over from Chamberlain, that was what they told the British public. He's got a great bathroom.
But he didn't have a microwave in his kitchen.
No, he didn't, no, because it hadn't been invented.
It is the Russian elections won by fascist politician Vladimir Zhirinovsky, who claims he will struggle for Britain's disintegration. No need, we've got our own people working on that. As to world domination, he says, our presence would proclaim to the peoples of the Mediterranean peace, prosperity and calm. Either that or the merest tinge of resentment they've just been invaded. There are now apparently fears of a red-brown alliance, which over there means a union between the army and the communists, as opposed to over here, where it would mean a merger between the fire brigade and the brownies. All of which apocalyptic fun brings to an end this opening putsch, and the distribution of wealth is such that both Ian and Maureen and Paul and Lesley stand shoulder to shoulder, with 4. Sandwiched between rounds 1 and 2, as athlete's foot between toes, lies the recurring fungus that is our caption competition. Ian and Maureen, consider this. While Paul and Lesley have this to bear in mind. So, time now for our weekly stroll down the street of shame, as we proffer 4 progressively implausible tabloid headlines. Paul, eyes down 4. Last chance for a killer guide dog.
This is a guide dog that's not been very successful so far, in that it's killed about 2 or 3 of its handlers.
Yeah.
It's been sort of, walking along the street, we can cross here we go, mate, didn't see that bus. And then there's another one where he was walking along the cliff with his handler, and he was sort of, just enjoying the cliff edge and all that, and sort of, the lead's gone tight, whoops. And they both fell over. And he's been given another chance to see if he can come up with a hat-trick. In Germany.
Yes, it is. 2 points. Very good. It's the guide dog in Germany who has so far killed 4, in fact, of his owners. Sounds like it'd be safer to have a guide saber-toothed tiger, really. The dog's name is Lucky.
Well, he's all right. Nothing wrong with him.
The 3-year-old Alsatian guided its first owner under a bus, the second under a speeding train, the third under a car, and the 4th fell off a seaside pier. Obviously, it got fed up waiting for the boat. Lucky is now set to get his 5th owner, who intriguingly won't be told about his past. His trainer, Ernst Gerber, said basically Lucky is a damn good guy. Of course, that could so easily be a German joke, as they are virtually undetectable. Lesley, fill us in on nuclear dustbin. Gets the go-ahead.
Oh, that's the thermal oxide nuclear reprocessing plant. That was the Thorpe plant. Tony Benn, that ardent anti-nuclear campaigner, put his moniker on the piece of paper which said we...
Monica, she was a prostitute involved in the case of Jeffrey Archer. He just put her right on top of it.
This is really one gigantic nuclear laundrette, and this particular technology is rather outdated anyway and is very dangerous. And
what's the government's response?
Well, as a response to that, not surprisingly, given that John Gummer, I think we all remember when he fed his daughter, wasn't it, a hamburger to show that there was no mad cow disease.
Sort of radioactive
The
hamburger.
same man is the man that's decided against all advice from all over the world that this is what we should have in Britain, this giant nuclear laundrette.
A perfect answer. Asked to estimate the cost of the plant, Environment Minister John Gummer said about 1 in 5. Last night at Sellafield, the party hats were out and the Christmas tree lights were burning brightly, curiously, as no one had actually plugged them in. Maureen, front page of the Financial Times for you. Spicy Spud Man gets a bashing.
Ah, yes, this is the Good Burgers of Cheltenham, and they don't want people selling vegetables in the street.
Quite right, too.
Well, it's common, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's
Hey, morning, get up! Well, it's very common.
How's it going?
That's newspapers, actually, isn't it? Hey, to get up! Anyway, so...
It could have been.
Is that how you sell things in the street?
Given half a chance, it would be, yeah. So they don't want that, and they certainly don't want this particular gentleman selling his baked potatoes, his spicy baked potatoes, not because of the potato itself, but because of the topping, which are foreign.
Oh, really?
Foreign toppings in Cheltenham. Yeah,
Yes, it is Cheltenham Council who banned the sale of all vegetables in the town centre. Local Liberal Democrat leader Alan Stone has also banned nightclub hypnotists, but after a 2-hour meeting with a hypnotist delegation, he told the press, "I've completely changed my mind." And, oh my God, I'm naked. And finally, Ian, what charitable exercise is this? The prize of failure.
This is your reward when you get sacked from the cabinet. It came out this week that if you get pushed out for being useless, you get paid about 8,000 quid as a bonus. And Lamont was the last person to get it. Quite interesting, having lost the country billions of pounds during the ERM crisis, he was rewarded by being given a backhander. And a whole load of Tory ministers.
knocked him straight into the doorway of Freshers, didn't it?
Yes.
What about the Goldman Sachs Bank? What did they give? £1 million bonus to every one of their...
But that was for success.
Well, I don't know. They were involved with Mr. Maxwell, were they not?
Maureen,
Allegedly.
do you think that's a bit much?
Sorry.
Just because Goldman Sachs Bank have given all their employees dirty, fat Christmas bonuses and the Maxwell pensioners have got bugger all,
Yeah.
I don't think you have to bring up the
I
fact
know.
that Goldman Sachs were Maxwell's favourite banker.
I'm sorry. I really
I don't
am
think
sorry.
it's necessary at Christmas. It's not nice.
Crude and tasteful.
It's not charitable.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was most
People always
admissive,
bring him
but-
up on this programme. I don't know why. Dig him up.
Yes.
They can't
it is,
actually find his grave. It's in his wife's name.
Yes, it's a scheme to help sacked ministers cope with the new tough life of being on the back benches. Liberal spokesman Matthew Taylor pointed out that ordinary citizens who leave their job don't get a penny. He said the government should do to the country what it does to its own ministers, whereas at the moment what it does to the country is what its ministers do to their secretaries. One senior minister who benefited...
Give them dictation.
Almost. If you cut the last part of what you
Yes.
said and you're almost there.
That's rude.
Give them dictates is obviously what she meant.
I thought you meant give them dick.
It's Christmas panto already, isn't it?
Now I understand.
I do declare the prince's balls get bigger every year.
Maureen Lipman is appearing at the Octagon, Reading.
One senior minister who benefited was Norman Lamont, as we mentioned, who received over £8,000. Talk about a fistful of dollars. At the end of which gay banter, we take a brief gawp at the scoreboard, and the cuticle biting situation is that, well, both teams seem hopelessly unable to maintain a lead, with Ian and Maureen and Paul and Lesley sporting an even 8. So let's waste no more time than it takes to play our odd one out round. 4 calling birds. Which one's the Camilla Parker Bowles? Paul, Here is your collection of unlikely lads. Kenneth Clark,
Yeah.
editor of Viz, Chris Donald, Michael Palin, and Norman Lamont.
It's something to do with trains, isn't it? Because Chris Donald is the editor of Viz, as you said, and he's bought an old railway station, converted it somewhere to live. Michael Palin, I think, is a bit of a train fanatic as well. Kenneth Clark's probably interested in trains. Norman Lamont goes like a train, so he's the odd one out.
So which did you pick as the odd one out? Of
Well, the
like
clue was in the words, Norman Lamont is the odd one out. By using your skill and judgment, make a sentence from the following words. Norman Lamont is the odd one out.
It's Michael Palin because he's the only one who looks nice.
Can I, if it helps, can I say Norman Lamont is the odd one out? Help you?
Well, and it's an interesting development, certainly, because that's almost
train
exactly
spotters.
what you said a moment ago, and you were right then as well. It is that all of them are train spotters, except Norman
You
Lamont.
don't have to repeat everything I say, Angus. It's very flattering.
No, I have to. It's in my contract. Who, despite living in central London, is a keen bird spotter. Although I have a feeling that he won't be going anywhere near Hampstead Heath in the near future. Incidentally, despite tabloid claims that TV switchboards were jammed after Julian Clary's remarks, there was in fact only one call on that night complaining about them. But there were loads after a joke about kicking a dog, just like the British public to side with the dumb animal, but not in this case, it seems. Lesley, 4 toffs for you. Princess Diana.
Looking for cameras.
The Duke of Edinburgh, Sir John
for
Harvey
Princess Diana.
Jones, and Lord Denning.
Well, the Duke of Edinburgh was in the Navy. John Harvey Jones was in the Navy. I don't know whether Lord Denning was in the Navy.
Di was.
Princess Di was in the Navy. So in that case, it would be Princess Di.
They've all been Pipe Man of the Year. Except John Harvey Jones.
I didn't realise that was one of Di's little foibles. But,
Absolutely. She smokes a long German one.
in fact, well, sadly, no nearer the mark. It's that all of them have, at some stage, delivered the Dimbleby lecture. Diana was invited to deliver this year's lecture, but the invitation was mysteriously withdrawn. Apparently, all had been fine until they saw the first draft of her lecture, Duran Duran, the early years. Maureen, your bunch of reprobates comprises the Sultan of Brunei, Frank Sinatra, Richard Branson,
Yes, they
and
are.
Lesley Grantham.
Okay, it seems to me that the Sultan of Brunei has given large amounts of money for a child to have an operation, or several operations. Frank Sinatra has done similar charitable things for small children.
Why is this giving you such a gas?
I don't know.
You just-
But I'm just so glad Michael Jackson's not on one of the photographs. Richard Branson is also being philanthropic in that he's flying home all the silly Sun readers who flew out to Florida in search of a job. And Lesley Grantham is an actor.
Nowhere near.
Nowhere
sadly.
near.
Nowhere near. No. Well,
Is it anything to do with wives?
Have a go.
Thanks very much.
No, they've all released cover versions of My Way.
Except the Sultan of Brunei.
And the other two.
If we're going to give points for guessing, I'll have to give one to Maureen, as you guessed right with Lesley Grantham at least. It's that they're all big tippers except Lesley Grantham, who's a self-confessed meanie. The Sultan of Brunei left a £100,000 tip at a hotel. Still, given his personal fortune is some 20 billion. We've worked out that that is the equivalent of an average wage earner in Britain leaving 10p. Stingy bastard. Frank Sinatra once promised a doorman to double the best tip he'd ever received. The doorman said it was $100, so Frank gave him $200, and on asking who'd given him the previous tip, he was told, "It was you, sir, last time you were here." Frank laughed it off, and the doorman's head was later delivered in a sack. Just kidding, Frank, obviously a big fan of yours if you're watching. And finally, in this round, Ian, 4 enlightened liberals for you. Heinrich Himmler, the editor of the Daily Mail, Paul Dacre, former Chief Rabbi Lord Jakobowitz, and a Y chromosome.
I think I'm a bit stumped on this one.
I think it's a homophobia question here.
Oh, good.
I think the three gentlemen who are not chromosomes, if you like,
Right.
have all said things roughly to do with being a weaker species should you be homosexual.
Effectively, yes, well done, well deduced. It is the Y chromosome, as all the others have put forward the case for genetic research to put an end to homosexuality, whereas it's unlikely the Y chromosome would want to be tampered with in this way. Females have 2 X chromosomes, males have an X and a Y chromosome, and the so-called supermale, an X and 2 Ys. Supermales tend to be taller than average, uncommonly gifted, and have reading difficulties. Lord Jakobowitz said that if it is possible to prevent homosexuality by genetic intervention, it should be done. What a shame it's not possible to prevent reactionary bollocks by genetic Which stuff and nonsense brings us to the end of this very much third round, and the story so far is that Paul and Lesley are now lying low with 9, whereas Ian and Maureen are cresting the wave with 12. And so we conga drunkenly into our final missing words round. Our guest publication this week, responsible, if that's the word, for an unknown number of headlines, is none other than the widely revered Parking Review, the magazine for all those with an interest in parking their cars. Right, Paul and Lesley are currently in the descendant, so away they go with Gummer braced for what?
Title fight with Hulk Hogan.
Storm over Thorpe.
Thought backlash, yes, very good.
Backlash.
Is the right answer, but slightly late, Ian.
I thought
Di takes wills to see what?
solicitors to see if they can be changed. Yeah?
Can we be allowed to answer first before you jump in?
You don't mean I've noticed your technique of cheating in this round by giving the right answer quickly?
We got to catch you lot up.
It's getting ugly. Okay, Paul and Lesley. Di takes wills to see what?
We don't know. Is it the homeless?
The homeless is the correct but unamusing answer. Next, what upsets geese?
Julian Clary.
Is it porno film? Porno film making, pornography. There's a story about this bloke complaining in France that the people next door who make the porno movie are upsetting his geese.
Badly parked Volvos. Badly
Parking
parked
meters.
Sierras.
Parking meters.
No, porn movies is absolutely right. I just wanted Paul to explain it. And lastly, rock stars what annoys neighbours?
Depends if it's Michael Jackson.
Jamming, vomiting.
Should have stuck with the parking
meter.
theme because it is in fact car park. Yes,
Car
I'll give you
park.
one for that. Thank you, Ian and Maureen. Police horse throws
Throws
what?
up.
Is it,
Throws discus.
Throws temper tantrum. No.
No,
is it a
certainly
double six?
Boss
Blobby.
is the answer, not Mr. Blobby. Next, who resigns as Tory leader?
Oh, we know
Yes,
this. No
yes.
one notices as John Major resigned. This is Kim
It
Campbell.
was the other woman, yeah. Kim
It's
Campbell.
Kim Campbell is the right answer. Next, what is key to life of bliss?
Marriage. Laughter.
Yale.
Tarama Salata.
It's a surreal image. No, marriage was actually the right answer. Well done, happy marriage at least. And finally, woman wins £20,000 after what?
Parking fine. She challenged it.
After parking on a traffic warden.
She ran him over and got a reward.
Either she was wrongfully dismissed for being pregnant, or she was swindled out of her pension. I can't decide which it was.
Was she a parking meter?
Well, Ian's closer. Tripping in car park is in fact the answer.
I knew it was car-based.
Is a rather drug-induced answer. Which major news event brings us clawing to the end of this final battle for survival? And the simple truth is that this week's funeral marches are for Ian and Maureen with 17, and this week's odes to joy are Paul and Lesley with 19.
I feel rather like Yeltsin when the Russian result came in. How the hell did I lose? Old Zirinovsky over there surging at 19.
How do you do that then?
It always happens though, doesn't it, last round?
What, that someone fixes the score?
I've
Nothing to do with
noticed
me.
a trend. If you tend to get the answers right, you get points.
It's a complicated system, but you'll get the hang of it.
It's almost like a quiz element, isn't it, really?
So a copy of the Have I Got News For You video for our winners.
Oh, no.
A copy of Paul Merton's video.
And of course, free KYTV videos for the whole audience.
Unfortunately not out on video yet, but we'll let you know. Before
bother.
before we let them slope off into the night, a brief demand for entertainment in the form of our caption competition. Paul and Lesley, this was yours, you recall.
Jigsaw man found alive. Man demonstrates new motorway system for Birmingham.
Ian and Maureen, what do you think of for this?
This is, how do you feel about being the new presenter of The Word?
Yes.
Is the bloke saying to the bull, that's got one of your bollocks off anyway?
Or is it the bloke saying, so, Mrs. Thatcher, how's the autobiography selling?
Is it the cow saying, this is Daisy for Sky BSE? Signing off now.
On which unfeasible note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Maureen Lipman, Paul Merton and Lesley Abdela. And I leave you with news that at the Harrods Winter Fashion Show, there are fears that supermodels may be getting too thin. After the World Cruiserweight title is won by boxer Johnny Nelson, promoters are accused of lining up too soft an opponent for his first defence. And in central London, Princess Diana responds to news that Charles has had another polo accident. Good night.